Here in my garage with my new Lamborghini. But you know what I like more than material things and getting hit up by K-pop girls every day? Knowledge. Love knowledge. And today, we've got some knowledge on Captain America. Well, I suppose this is Corped in America. This is John Walker, and we've got sort of a review and reaction to episode 5? No, 4. Episode 4 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is not going to be perfect. I'm trying a different thing out because I don't like how my mic is sounding right now. So I'm actually just trying my phone mic, and I'm going to see how this works. And we're very far behind, so selfie style video, yay. I guess I can't show you. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm holding it. This episode was unreal, and obviously, as always, there's going to be spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, I don't know why you're watching a review of this show. But we got, first off, a ton of developments in the story. John has officially lost it. Like, this guy has gone nuts. It's pretty interesting how this was, like, predictable, going into this. I mean, like, he a couple episodes ago was already getting angry. You could tell that the guy had an anger problem, and as someone who has an anger problem at times and who has dealt with that forever, which is honestly just like any mental issue that you have to really control, and some people, when they have it bad enough, they have to seek help for, and get treatment and stuff. That's not something that can go unchecked. That's something that really should have been noticed and flagged, pun intended, before giving him the shield. Now, I have no doubt that in this guy's track record, in the military, he did a good job. But one thing that we know about the military is it tends to leave wounds. It tends to leave scars. And a lot of people don't recover from those, or they need a lot of work to get through them. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it takes some time. They dropped John Walker from being a spec ops guy, in special forces, essentially, right into being Captain America like a week later. They even say that a few episodes ago. Like, they went from training the squad, getting them ready for a special mission to, oh, you're Captain America and Battlestar with him and Lamar. And it was not a good idea. This was very obviously a knee-jerk reaction decision from the U.S. Government and military to basically bring in a figurehead because of things like the Flag Smashers and terrorism following Thanos' blip, which I hate the word for. Just call it the snap. For heaven's sake, Marvel, please. The blip is such a dumb name. Regardless, things are heating up. John has finally lost it. This episode saw a lot of character development for a lot of people. I especially love Baron Zemo's lines in this episode where he talks about the super soldier serum and essentially, like, how can you have this serum without having the idea of supremacy, and I've seen a lot of people say, like, well, this show is too political. I don't like the political undertones. Look, I'll be the first person to call something out if I think it's preachy and annoying. There has been one scene in this entire show that I thought was in a weird place, that I didn't think was necessary, and that was the police officer stereotyping scene, I think in episode 2. I'm not even saying that shouldn't be in the show. It just felt to me like it was in an odd pacing part of the episode where it didn't fit to me. But other than that, like, this show has done a pretty good job of providing, like, kind of a critical lens on a lot of stuff without just completely telling you, hey, you have to think this, or hey, this is what's right. It's a lot of question posing and not a lot of jamming answers down your throat. That's what I've always wanted from shows like this. That's what I've always wanted from properties that I like, is not being spoon-fed the right information all the time, but being helped along, like being, having questions asked to me, having people pose ideas to me, stuff like that. And I think that they've been doing a really good job in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier with that. Now, what I'm very interested to see is, because Lamar Battlestar was killed in this episode, obviously, by Carly, who is the head of the Flag Smashers, or at the very least the main figurehead of them. I'm interested to see how everyone responds to this, because John lost it. He had an opportunity before this. He acquired a leftover dosage of the super soldier serum without the permission of the U.S. government or anything. He just took it because you can see the anger in him of what he's being asked to do. People are being very hard on John Walker, and he absolutely deserves it. People going after Wyatt Russell is weird and kind of sad and unhinged. But in terms of John Walker, he definitely deserves the criticism. This is a guy who has anger problems. He's taking it out on everyone around him. He took the super soldier serum with no authorization. He clearly didn't have the mental health and stability to handle it. And now someone's dead. And did that person deserve to die? Honestly, I know that that's going to be up to viewer interpretation. I would say yes. If you look at these people and what they've been doing, I understand that they are sympathetic, Carly Morgan and all these people. But they've killed a lot of people that didn't really have anything to do with their problems. Even on the news broadcast during this episode, at the beginning, they pointed out that, like, hey, one of the guys you murdered in that actual terrorist bombing was someone who worked there for a week. He didn't do anything. This isn't someone who made sure that you didn't have food or, like, took things from you or whatever. This was just a guy. And they're really, like, ends justify the means, the flag smashers. And John is kind of the same way. Like, if we're going to give the flag smashers any credit of, like, ends justify the means, they were displaced by the return of everyone, blah, 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 which I've seen a lot of sympathetic stuff online for them. Well, then John kind of deserves a little bit of the same credit. The man was asked to do an impossible task. He was asked to take over for a super soldier and basically take on the mantle of an Avenger without being an official Avenger, and become a symbol to an entire country when he was not prepared to do so. Should he have turned it down? Yeah, probably, but he did not. He just did it. And now someone's dead. The question to me is not if it's not if any of these flag smashers deserve to die, because, it's one of those things too, like, killing them before they kill hundreds more people. I get it. It's the Osama bin Laden argument, but it's a question of, like, the brutality of it. Like, if this guy deserved to have his head bashed in on national television with Cap's shield, like, he literally beat his face in to the point where, like, we saw blood all over the shield. They cut away, but it's insinuated he borderline decapitated this man. Like, he beat his head in with the vibranium shield to the point where there wasn't anything left and there was blood all over the shield. And everyone was watching. That's why the episode is titled The Whole World is Watching. This was caught on, obviously, national television because this is going to be broadcast all over the place. There were like 100 people with their phones out. Carly saw this. It's going to cause a lot of outcry. And this is how it happens. This is a thing that terrorists do in real life, by the way. It's a reason why the government has to be careful how they handle them. I'm, like, all over the place with this camera right now. But it's one reason why the government has to be careful how they handle them is because the terror cells will try and put governments of the world in positions where they have to respond and look awful. It's also why terrorists have been known to hide among common people, which Carly and crew do in this, by the way, is because if you send in, the special forces to kill these people, you're probably going to take a couple of civilians with them. And then you essentially create this atmosphere where people are like, oh, the terrorists are right. We should join them. And that's kind of a problem with what John did. Now, if he was going to kill this guy, I mean, I'm not saying it's right to brutally murder this man, but if he was going to brutally murder this man in retaliation for Lamar's death, he probably should not have done it in front of 50 iPhones. It's just not a good look. Not a good look for the U.S. military in this show. Not a good look for Captain America and the mantle. This is going to leave literal and metaphorical blood on the shield, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Sam and Bucky deal with it. Now, I thought the episode was very well written. It's very slow at first. I guess I'm the only one who finds the Wakandans, like, ridiculously arrogant for some reason. When I was, like, looking online, like, when the Wakandans show up, and you have Okoye showing up here, and essentially they're trying to, bring Zemo to justice, which essentially I think would be taking him and executing him for the death of King T'Chaka. They exercise their authority wherever they go. They even point out, like, we have jurisdiction wherever we find ourselves. It's a very U.S. type sentiment, and as someone who is a fan of the U.S., I think you can still notice that. Wakanda was designed to be a bit of a allegory for United States stuff, at least in Black Panther. It seems like that's holding true here. But I do like how no one is left 100% likable in this episode. I mean, Bucky and Sam still are. Like, they haven't really done anything wrong here. But, like, if you look all the way across the board, like, Zemo is now more likable. Like, his whole line about, like, how the super soldier serum can't exist without the idea of supremacy, and how, like, this idea of trying to become a god eventually, like, changes how you think about yourself. Like, we see that with John Walker. He's being corrupted by his own power. He was even being corrupted before he had power, and now that he has it, he's not going to willingly give it up. So it's a question of, like, how these things will be handled. Is Zemo right? Was Sam right because Steve was an example of a super soldier not corrupted, or was Steve the exception to the rule? There's a lot of philosophical and moral questions posed in this show, and I really like it. I like how it doesn't just tell you exactly what to think all the time, and that's going back to that Red Skull comic and stuff like that I talked about. That's more my issue with, like, politics and stuff, is when it's like, hey, listen, I have the right answers. You have to listen to me all the time and shut the hell up. That's kind of the stuff that I think is not well written. This sort of stuff of, like, asking deep questions, where are these attitudes rooted? What's going to happen going forward? Who's in the right? Is John partially in the right for killing this terrorist or completely in the wrong? These questions being presented are very interesting, I think. And I think that this show is honestly worthy of the legacy of the Captain America trilogy, at the very least, if not the legacy of the S.H.I.E.L.D. type storyline that they're doing. Because Captain America all the way through has been a political story. It really has. I mean, you had, like, the first Avenger was very much less that, but it was still about Nazism and all this other stuff with supremacy. The second Captain America was more political. It was really about the idea of a governmental body overreaching and destroying problems before they happen, and how that could be bad for everybody. And then the third Captain America, sorry, I'm having a hard time holding this at this point, was very much about, like, essentially state versus federal power, that kind of thing. It was like the Civil War type thing, personal rights versus the rights of the government, who should have the right to respond, etc. All kinds of stuff, many themes that could be broken down. I think that this series is doing a very good job so far with sort of holding up that mantle without being stupid. Now, whether the MCU can do that going forward, and if it resolves well, that's up to anybody's guess. I really hope it does, because I've loved every episode. But we'll have to see. What do you think will happen next episode with John? What do you think will happen with Falcon and Winter Soldier? What do you think will happen with the Wakandans, Baron Zemo, everybody? I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching this. And despite my shaky cam, I have a chronic pain problem, so it's hard to hold these things still. But usually I just use a, tripod. But today I wanted to try something different. So we'll see if you like it. We'll see if you don't. Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoy this. Leave a like if you had a fun time. Also, all the links down in the description below. Official Etsy shop with all of our merch. Mother's Day is coming up, so there's some great things on there for your mom. Trust me, I'm a big expert on my friends' moms. You can ask any of them. I know them very deeply, intimately. I've explored them very thoroughly. So, like, I am the guy to ask about your mom. Just so you know out there. Just leaving it out there. Patreon down there. Discord, Instagram, Twitter, it's all there. Have a fantastic day. And as always, stay shway. And if you're going to bash someone's head in, do not do it with a national symbol or an international symbol when hundreds of people are recording you on their phone. Not a good idea.